Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. I am Amanda. You know me. Some people know me as Vamp, and I am here today to talk about Vampirella, which I'm so excited about because I've been reading it. I've been loving it. Christopher Priest is basically our man behind everything that's been going on with this lately the last few years, and I've been having so much fun jumping in. So I just want to say, get ready because I'm joined by the man himself, Christopher Priest. Hello. How's it going, Priest?
Hey, it's great, Amanda. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so excited to talk to you about Vampirella today and probably other comic things because you've done a lot of comic things. I mean, I love your run on Black Panther. It's amazing. It's so iconic. And there are so many characters that you've touched on and just you do such a great job, I feel, of really understanding who a character is, where they've been, and carrying all of that forward, which I've been loving with Vampirella because she is a character who people have changed her history and done all kinds of things to her. And with your run, not only are you doing something new, but you're also taking from everything that we've had before and honoring it, which I love.
Yeah,
So,
I always hated it when people would just take over a book and then throw everything out that came before. Like nothing matters except me. I feel like
yeah,
that's a little arrogant.
it
So
is.
we just tried to, keep as much as possible. And then at Dynamite, they give us the creative freedom so that the other Vampirella writers they have their kind of take on her. I have my take on her, and we don't come into conflict. We just exist in a sort of kind of pseudo multiverse without
Yeah,
formally calling it that. Yeah,
doing different things, but also still getting to play in the sandbox and not being limited, which
absolutely.
I like.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
I think it's also really cool because clearly what you're doing is working. You have had such a long run before on Vampirella. You did Vampirella Year One, Draculina spinoff, Sacred Six, which was my first thing that I read with Vampirella, which was a whole
Yeah.
fun adventure coming in there. And now having gone back and read Vampirella, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much in Sacred Six that I just did not appreciate. So I'm going to go back and read it again. But with Vampirella, we're now back to an issue one. So what would you say makes this kind of like a good maybe jumping on point for people that haven't been following what you've been doing, but kind of want to get into it now?
Well, that's a good question because when you're talking about a character that's been around for 50 years, I would guess it's intimidating for someone who's never read the book before
Hmm.
to just kind of step into it. But this book, particularly at the beginning of this arc, this is an important arc. It's a number one, so there's more or less a clean break here. So it's kind of like. Uh, you're so young. Do you remember a cartoon called The Jetsons?
Yeah, I remember the Jetsons. I grew up
So the
definitely
Jetsons
watching
had
the
the
Jetsons in the mornings.
so the Jetsons had like the greatest theme song, and
They
it was
do.
like meet George Jetson,
Yeah.
Jane, his
Wife.
wife,
Yeah.
their boy Elroy, daughter Judy, and they would sing this stuff, and as they sung the name of the character, the character would come on stage and do some bit that would sort of tell the kids
Like this is who
how
that
the character
is.
functions in exactly.
Yeah.
This is who the character and how the character functions. So this new Vampirella number one, it's our kind of duty to kind of bring everybody on stage. Actually, there's not a lot of people to bring on stage. This is a very personal story that we're doing, but to bring the characters on stage in a way that we kind of take it slow and easy, and you get to meet Vampirella. Vampirella is now a new mom. She has her baby. The problem is that now the little piece of previous continuity that we will tell you about
Yeah.
is that when her baby had been stolen at childbirth, so that's a previous story arc. She's finally got the baby back, and these are the early days of Vampirella finally being home with her baby and realizing that she has not bonded with this baby because the baby had been stolen for
She's
so
just
long.
been chasing this baby around trying to get the baby back. She's been so focused on that she didn't think about when she has the baby, now what's going to happen?
Well, actually, she thought the baby was dead, so it's even
Right.
worse than chasing the baby around.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the baby is a stranger to her,
Yeah.
and she doesn't know what to do, and she's having this postpartum issue here, and she's feeling overwhelmed by guilt because it's her baby. She's supposed to love the baby, but she doesn't love the baby. She doesn't even like the baby.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know what to do. So that's pretty much, now that's one hell of a vampire story you got there, priest. It's like, Vampirella is not always about her being a vampire. It's
Yeah.
about her being a person who wants the same things that you and I want. She wants community and love and purpose. She wants all of those things, but she happens to be a
Vampirella.
vampire from outer space.
Yeah.
Right.
So she keeps getting pulled into stuff. And I mean, even in the previous volume, I feel like we really set that up as like, this is, Ella trying to live her life. She's
Right.
just trying to find love. She's a single girl in the city, just trying to figure it out. And then down the line, right, she meets Dracula. She gets married. Now she's married to
Well,
Dracula.
he might be Dracula. He might not be Dracula. She gets married to him because this is a guy that is infected with what we call the Dracula virus, and she gets married to him in order to initiate a ritual which would purge him of the Dracula virus.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, that ritual involves them getting married and consummating that marriage. So
got to do that.
Now I guess I'm going to get the Twitters going, oh, sexist. You're objectifying and sexualizing.
Look, you should just read it. The people that are out there, I would recommend that you read it first.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So I got in trouble with that. But that's where that storyline came from. But yeah, so she's been through a lot. And as a result of that marriage, she ended up getting pregnant.
Yeah.
And now here's the baby, and the baby's making her nuts. And the story arc is a cautionary tale about if postpartum depression goes untreated,
what happens?
It can become a permanent dysphoria. It can become a permanent emotional situation. And in this case, we get a tale of Christmas future, where we look into the future and see that Vampirella has not recovered from this episode and has spiraled into darkness and turned into a very unpleasant person. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, to spoil the issue a little bit, sorry friends, but warning, spoiler ahead for issue number 1. At the end, her son, Cicero, comes back, but she doesn't recognize him. She doesn't know who it is because it's him from the future.
It's the baby, all grown up, having traveled back from the future.
Basically saying, we need to get baby me away from my mom because
you're a terrible mom.
It's not going to work out. It doesn't.
You're not any good at it. Yeah.
Warning, Vampirella, not a great mom right now. Yeah.
Right.
So, which is pretty crazy too, because everything that she was trying to do was kind of, thinking this baby was dead and then finding out and then getting the baby back. It's all been for this one thing. And then you kind of find out like, maybe that wasn't the best choice, actually. Maybe we should have left the baby with Draculina or someone that would be a better mom, which also is crazy to think that Draculina, mom of the year, but maybe could be
the evil sister. Yeah. But and by the way, you don't have to know any of this. Read the book. Yeah. I'll take you through it step by step. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Ella, and we will take you by the hand and lead you through all this stuff. So don't worry about all the stuff that Amanda and I are talking about. By the way, it's interesting to know that Cicero, who has come back from the future, he engages briefly with his mother, but the person he came to talk to is Doc Chary,
her therapist,
the psychiatrist.
Yeah,
because he is urging Chary to get on a plane and go to New York and see Vampirella and help her because she desperately needs help. She doesn't realize it. Sometimes when we're spiraling into drug abuse or alcoholism, we need help. We're not able to ask for it.
Yeah.
So he is trying to he's telling this story of this grim future to Doc Chary in order to motivate him to go back and
good luck getting Doc Chary to go talk to Vampirella again. I imagine that's going to be quite a hurdle.
He was so happy to get rid of her.
Yeah, he's so done with her. He's like, God, this woman is crazy, man. Like, she's making up all kinds of things. He doesn't know what to believe. And then when Lillith came in back in the original run, I was like, oh gosh, this is hilarious. Doc Chary is one of my favorites, actually, in the run.
No, Doc Chary does. He is a therapist who was called in because Vampirella was involved in a plane crash. Again, you don't need to know about the plane crash.
Yeah.
But he does not believe in vampires. This world that I've created, this version
Yeah.
of Vampirella is a world that does not believe in vampires, because I
Yeah.
think that's way more interesting
A
than
world that
writing a
accepts it.
series where everyone just blithely
It's
accepts
like, sure,
vampires
she's a
as a thing.
vampire. Yeah.
You know, so Chary does not,
Buy
he just thinks
anything.
she's crazy.
Yeah. He
He
thinks
just
she's
thinks she's
lost her
crazy.
mind. Yeah. And she thinks she's a vampire and she's crazy.
So then Cicero shows up. So now he's sure Cicero's crazy,
Yeah.
because Cicero's telling him this wild story about how she becomes this unhinged person in the
Yeah.
future. So anyway, it's a fun little series, a fun little story arc. It's going to run 6 issues. I wish it could run longer, but
I hope it runs
Ergun, we
longer.
have to work with Ergun's schedule, so
Right.
6 it is. But it's a great place to start. You know, if you'd like, if you're so inclined, the last issue, we're keeping the legacy numbering, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You're still counting it up. Yeah.
we're still counting. So, but the last,
Which the legacy numbering, if you guys are grabbing it, you'll see in the store, it's like right on the cover, right underneath the
it
one.
says
So you keep track.
676 or something like that.
Mhm.
675, the issue that came out just before the number 1.
Mhm.
Now that's a complete done in one story. It's a primer on Vampirella.
Oh, great.
And it's Doc Chary is called on the carpet by the licensing board, by the people who license him.
Yeah.
And he has to explain who Vampirella is and what the story is and all that other stuff. So he walks you through.
Like, here's
from soup
where
to
we're
nuts.
at with this character.
Exactly.
That's great. So there you go. So that's definitely something I would recommend that you check out.
Now with Vampirella, Forrest Ackerman, he wrote her as a science fiction satire, as kind of like Barbarella with fangs.
Yeah.
It had a sense of humor to it. And over time, people kept subsequent writers just kept leaning more and more into the occult, and that was my big resistance when Nick Barucci was trying to get me to write this thing. I don't want to write about the occult. I don't want to glamorize the occult. I find nothing. I think all this like devil stuff. That people just like the devil. They like the devil way more than they like God. I just just as a writer, I'm bored by it. As a minister, I don't like it because it's not accurate. It's not theologically or doctrinally accurate.
Mhm.
So
I
when I
also feel
went,
like there's only so far sometimes that you can go with it. Like, I feel like sometimes people like when you were talking about that cul-de-sac before, it's like people
right,
kind of get trapped in it, and then it just becomes about something that's not even really related to the characters anymore. It's like people get lost in this. Like, I think Spawn sometimes
yes,
runs into that issue, right? Where I love Spawn, but then it's all like, this is like hell and heaven and there's this battle and all this stuff, and I'm like, but what about Al? Like, I just want to know what's going on with him. Can we just like focus in on the character? Because
yeah.
you
Well,
lose that sense of like, what is this story about anymore sometimes.
but beyond that, I just get lost in the. I get turned off by uh, the inaccuracy, the just the theological and doctrinal inaccuracy. And what I mean by that is, the more seriously you take the theology,
Mhm, mhm.
like what's that movie with Tom Hanks, the scary movie where he's looking for, not Hells and Demons, the one that came before that.
Oh, yeah, the, what is it called? It's the Dan Browning books, is that
Yeah,
what you're talking
yeah.
about? Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
I
the
know you're
more
talking about.
seriously you take this stuff, or even The Exorcist, go back to
Yeah,
the more seriously you take the stuff, the scarier it is.
yeah,
But then you have like Son of Satan, and you're making Satan into I'm the son of Satan, and you make him into a superhero, and I'm like, no, 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 and then you have like God versus the devil, and like they're equal and opposites. They're not equals. They're not even
yeah,
close to be.
yeah,
No, no, no.
yeah,
So that's so my deal with Nick was, I said, look, I really don't want to do the occult stuff. I can write it like a science fiction book. You know, um,
yes,
and
and honestly, that's where I think Vampirella is strongest, in my opinion, is when it's approached from that
exactly,
angle. And there
You
still
know,
can be elements of mysticism within that. Like, I mean, I love what you did even with Pantha and all the stuff that you built, even with her in
yeah.
Sacred Six. I thought that was super cool, and kind of taking this approach to this character and how it's mystical, but it's also like ancient and historical, and that is really sick.
Well, I always, well, the common theory is that, mysticism, magic is only science that we don't understand yet.
Yeah.
So, what I try to do is leave the door open for the reader to just let the reader decide: is this mystical? Is this a demon, or is this just a creature from another dimension that we don't quite understand yet? So
Yeah.
let me not force that on them. But making Lilith like Adam's first wife and tying it into that sort of apocryphal doctrine, it's complicated. It makes my head hurt. It's unnecessary. If Lilith was human and Adam was human, how could Vampirella be vampiri? I don't know. My head started to hurt. So uh, basically, we were allowed to create our own Kelvin universe
Yeah.
version of Vampirella, where we like don't deny what anybody else is doing, but we're doing our own thing over here, and we hope that that you guys join the party.
I'm personally loving it. I think it's so cool that you're taking all of these different things, blending them together while also creating your own story, and that it feels like the other thing that I love when you write anyone is I feel like you really nail who the character is, like who Vampirella is. I think the thing I was reading an interview actually that you did recently where you were talking about Deathstroke, and you were talking about how with Deathstroke a lot of people like want Deathstroke to be this idolized like character when really he's a villain. So
Antihero,
yeah,
antihero. Yeah, go. No, he's a
anti-hero.
villain.
He's a
And
villain.
that was the
That's it.
fight between myself and the editor. Is that yeah? I just go, no, he's a villain. You just accept it. Get used to it. He's
Yeah.
you can't do. I mean,
Can't do the things that Slade has done and be like, yeah, that guy's great. Like, is he?
mere days before his son's wedding, he's sleeping with the bride. He's sleeping
Yeah.
with his son's,
That's straight up
fiance.
villain
This
stuff.
villain, and then I would get calls from DC, like like he would do something horrible, and I get this call, and go, well, he can't do that. And I go, what part of villain do you not understand? He's a villain, Now with Vampirella, and again, with all due respect to writers who make way more money than I
Mm.
do, there's just been a long history of people just working the suit.
Yeah.
Where Vampirella is, I believe the common term now, if correct me if I'm wrong, is Mary Sue, where
Yeah.
she's this she's the strong female protagonist who is who has no weaknesses and is indefeatable, and it had blah 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 and all
But
that
that's
kind
not
of stuff.
interesting because then what's the point of reading that, right? Like when you have someone that's just can do it all, it's like,
Right.
okay, and where's the
Yeah.
struggle? That's the interesting part of the story.
I'm trying to first and foremost write her as a person,
Yeah.
as a person first, as a woman second. But I'm trying to write somebody who is fallible, who makes mistakes, who gets it wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, she jumps into bed with this Uber driver, and to Vampirella they're just having fun, but for Victory this is serious. This is she's getting serious about this,
Yeah.
and she ends up like dumping Victory, and now Victory goes off the deep end, and
Becomes
it creates this whole
Draculina.
it turns to this whole other character. But that's the point I'm trying to make, where she's just
She's just a
you know
person trying to live her
she's
life.
actually a person. Yes.
Yeah,
Now,
and
now,
that is the
go
thing
ahead. I'm
about
sorry.
Vampy too, is she will jump into bed with people and not think about, oh wait, like maybe I
Somebody
shouldn't have done
always
that.
wants Amanda. Somebody always wants it to be more than it is.
Yeah,
And that's a cautionary tale. It's like you can sit down with the person and have this conversation. Well, look, we're just going to have fun.
that's it.
Nobody gets hurt. And they nod in all the right places, but inside they're thinking, I can change your mind.
Yeah, and that is such the thing with Victory too, because she is that crazy character. She is that
Yeah.
crazy woman who's kind of like, okay, yeah, no, I'm cool with that, but she isn't really ever cool with it. Like
Yeah, yeah, but the
when
best
people
part
don't
about
communicate and you're like, oh no, this is going to
right,
be a disaster.
but the best part about Victory, to be, I didn't get to write the best part because the Sacred Six only went to 12 issues. I thought we would go
Yeah.
longer. Silly me. But the best part about Victory is that, in her lowest moment, where she's just completely in despair, she's been sent in Sacred Six. She's been sent undercover at this Christian school,
Yeah.
and so she's at this Christian school, and she ends up, manipulating the student, and the student ends up committing suicide.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Victory feels terrible about it. So in her nadir, at her lowest moment, she turns around and she accepts Christ. Victory becomes a born again Christian.
Yeah.
So now you have this born again Christian operating within the sphere of the occult, trying to keep her new testimony secret from all the ghoulies that she's hanging out with. And
Yeah,
it
like,
was a
don't let them
really
know.
interesting, and then in I believe Rage, our miniseries Rage, she's
Mhm.
hanging out with Dracula. They are chasing around the globe trying to find Vampirella, who has
Mhm.
lost her mind because her Vampirella believes her baby is dead, and she is tracking down the people who stole the baby and killing them one by one. So
Mhm.
now we've got Dracula teaming up with Victory, trying to be the good guys, and it's glorious art by this guy Christian Rosado.
Mhm.
That did a wonderful job, particularly with Victory. Where and there's this one scene, I have to email it to you. There's this one great scene where Dracula, who's if you write Dracula right, he's this tempter. He's like Satan when Satan tempts Christ.
Yeah.
And he kind of comes up behind you, kind of whispers in your ear, and kind of plays you a little bit. And he walks up behind Victory and goes, "So let me get this right. You're born again now, right?" And she goes, "Yes." So that means that you're celibate. You're not. That means you're not having sex. It's you know. And she goes, no. She goes, and is that like by God's demand? She goes, no, it's God's gift. It's my gift to God. It's like
Yeah.
present your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. She tells him that, and she goes, but still, you hunger. And she goes, I'm starving. And he goes, good. Now you know what it feels like to be a vampire, because vampires are starving all the time.
All the time. Oh my
Well,
goodness.
but yeah, it's a nice little world we've crafted here with a lot of interesting characters running around. And as far as just to get back to your question, because we wandered way off the subject, but just to answer your
No, I
question,
love it. Let's wander
what makes it
everywhere.
a what makes it a good starting off point, start jumping on point, is like anytime you are able to get to the story, and page one starts with once upon a time there was a gal named Ella, you know, then all right, you're welcome here, because as we take you through the story, you will get to know everything you need to know about the characters and so forth. And I wouldn't worry about it. It's not that kind of book.
Yeah.
Everybody's welcome to the party, and you'll figure all out as we go.
Well, that's kind of also what you said in regards to just Vampirella as a character, like this
Yeah.
idea of how there is so much, and it really is a character where you can kind of just jump in whenever, because there's been so much, and so much of it is like this is kind of a different vibe, this is a different vibe. So don't worry about that. Just come to Vampirella, enjoy the character, enjoy the time, and enjoy the world. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, you've brought back a lot of those characters that we talked about, like Von Kreist is there. Obviously, you got to have Lilith.
Oh, it's
Lilith is
Von
there.
Kleist.
Von
It's
Kreist.
Baron Von Kleist. Yes.
I'm so glad that I have that correction. Von Kreist. I love him, by the way. I love the way that you wrote him. And I love that idea of him wanting to destroy Vampirella because he loves her. I love that everyone loves Vampirella, because I feel like he is that character, though, and I think even back in the day, that's why a lot of people read Vampirella. We all loved her. We all just love her. She's hot. She's kind of crazy. She's unpredictable at times. And at the end of the day, she is trying to do what's best. She doesn't always do it right, but she's doing her best here, okay?
Yeah, we had this character Nyx. She used to be Mistress Nyx. I dropped the
Yes.
Mistress. That sounded
Yeah.
a little weird to me, But Nyx, who's half human and half demon, and much like she mirrors Vampirella in the sense that she really craves humanity, but if she the way she recharges her energy is she has to suck the life force out of a human person. So she's kind of a tragic figure, as is the blood red Queen of Hearts, and all these wonderful other characters running around. But yeah, right now I think in this particular arc, the ultimate bad guy is Vampirella herself. So it's kind of
She's
vampy
her own
versus
villain.
vampy
She
if you
gets in
think
her
about
own
it.
way. Yeah, I definitely
Yeah,
see
something
that.
like that. Yeah, yeah.
So
But
so with bringing back all
I,
these characters though too, you also have created like some new characters. Obviously, we have Victory, and I'm just wondering, like, when it comes to classic characters and also the characters that you've created, who's your favorite? Like, would you say among them? Like, who's your favorite to write, and what? Why do you find them? Why do you find them so compelling? Like, why do you love them?
well, I think that I have kind of a love-hate relationship with Panther,
Mm,
because I can't get the artists to understand either the cat form or the human form.
right.
So the artist who drew the first two issues of Sacred Six, and
Mhm.
forgive me, I forgot his name off the top of my head. Um, he did such a wonderful job, and he did a great job with the cat when the cat showed up. It's like, okay, that's
Oh
exactly
yeah, that
what,
looked amazing.
you know. But I had reimagined Panther from being like this sort of leggy white chick. No offense to leggy white chicks, but she was she looked too much like Vampirella, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's easy for them to be standing next to each other, and you don't.
And
And
you'd
then
be
I
like,
felt like
wait
it
a
really
minute.
was, yeah. Then I felt it really wasn't quite. I wanted to tweak the historical accuracy.
Hmm.
This is an Egyptian person. Egypt, I don't want anyone to get mad at me, but it's true. Egypt is in Africa.
Yeah,
Look it up. It really is.
yeah.
Now Egyptians are not Africans, so I'm not saying that.
I mean, it's
But
kind of a melting pot depending on where you are as
right,
well in Egypt.
but they're
So
not
yeah, that's
Elizabeth
different.
Taylor either.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
the pendulum swings both ways. So we had reimagined her as a girl, as like a teenager named Samira,
Yeah.
who had some history and blah blah blah. And she ends up being cursed and becomes Panther, that kind of thing. And I was going to invent some explanation for why she appeared as the leggy white chick, in the 70s, but so I kept, every time I write Panther into the series, I either get like a goofy looking kitty cat, or I get like, who is that when she powers down to Samira. So
Yeah.
he is making an appearance in this story arc. You're going to see
Panther's coming back.
actually the whole Sacred Six is showing up to stop
Oh
Vampirella.
yes.
So that,
Oh, okay.
you
That'll be really
know,
fun to see them all
um,
back together again.
but I think we still are going to struggle a bit, when Panther powers down and becomes Samira. People go, "Who's that?" So bear with me. We're doing the best we can.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm excited to see, what I mean, I guess we'll see how it goes for you with the art. I hope that it's all nailed. I hope that it's exactly what you want it to be, because I feel like that can be hard. But I mean, is Gunda's going to be doing the art like throughout this series?
yes, yes. Well, he's the regular artist, so he's
Yeah.
he's he's doing the art throughout the arc. But Samira is a new character for him, so he's not quite got her dialed in. So we'll just cross our fingers there.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as new characters, well, then we have to talk about. Oh my gosh, how did I forget his name? What's the baby's name?
Oh, Vampirella's son,
His name is Cicero.
Cicero. There we
How did
go.
I forget that? I named
There
him
we
after
go.
a friend of mine in Chicago. Shout out to Cicero in Chicago. Uh,
Yeah. So when it
Cicero,
comes to new
son of
characters, Cicero,
yes,
son of Vampirella.
Cicero, son of Vampirella, who is he's not a good guy, he's not a bad guy, and
Depending on the timeline.
well, spoiler alert, issue two,
Yeah,
uh, which is probably coming out in a few weeks now.
yeah.
Issue two will have a very controversial scene that I hope doesn't get me canceled, but
Whoa.
depending on how you look at it,
Yeah.
that this may or may not be a sexual assault.
Whoa.
Depending on how you look at it, it's one of these things where
So
there is
trigger
a
warning for issue 2. Be prepared
yeah,
to maybe be a
yeah,
bit
and it's in
shocked.
there. There's a trigger warning on the book
Oh,
and
that's good. That's
in
good.
the solicitations. But basically, there is a romantic encounter
Mm.
and it's Cicero, and he's breaking up with his girlfriend, or his girlfriend is trying to break up with him, or kind of dumping him,
Oh
you know.
no.
But they end up in bed, and it's consensual. She starts it. They end
Yeah,
up in
yeah, yeah,
bed,
yeah, yeah.
and at some point she says, "You know what? Stop this, because this is what we always do. We avoid the hard
Stuff.
questions,
And we just end up back here and then nothing changes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he keeps pressing, and then she goes, "No, stop." But he keeps pressing, so he's not trying to harm her. He's trying to convince her to stay.
Right.
Okay. So, if I did this right, I don't think there's a right way to do it. But if I did this right, the reader comes away from from it going, now what just happened here?
Yeah.
Was that, or was that not?
Right.
And add into the fact that this encounter takes place 47 years from now, and may not happen if Cicero is successful in preventing that timeline.
Right, because it's related to Cicero's upbringing and all of the stuff that he's been through to get him to this point where he is this person now that does that thing.
If he could, this is kind of the ultimate, like, do over, or whatever, mulligan or whatever, is to go
Yeah.
back in time, and, like, if I could just not do that,
Right.
you
Right. So
know,
is
I
this
could
like
be
kind of the
redeemed.
incident? Is this the thing where he starts to question like who he is?
It's kind of yes and no. It's kind of a moment where, see, people don't just wake up in the morning and decide to be evil.
That's true. Yeah.
It just kind of creeps up on you, little things here
Yeah.
and there, little things. So he
And
doesn't
you
even realize.
justify it in such a way that you just don't even like people that are like that, they don't even think about it in that way. They
He
don't
doesn't
see it.
even realize that he's done anything wrong until the
Right.
next day, when
Oh,
she's packing her shit, and she's like, "You
I'm
raped
out.
me." No,
Yeah.
she calls him out. She calls him out
Wow.
on it. And the character, and again, minor spoiler alert, but the character goes on to be very important to the story arc. So it's not like we're fridging her or anything like that. This is a
Yeah.
realized, three-dimensional, fully realized person who, makes a phone call to outer space, and summons the aliens to invade the Earth because she's pissed off at Cicero for attacking her. Anyway, it's there's a bunch of stuff going on here.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of people rushing to judgment, seeing this, or just hearing about it, just reading a headline on Facebook or something, and they
Right.
immediately take to the Twitter, and they
Oh
haven't
yeah.
read the book. They don't know what they're talking about.
Well,
But
people
all of a
will
sudden,
do
they're trying
that.
to, cancel Dynamite or cancel Priest. So I pray to God that I did this right, and that I endowed the character with dignity and agency, and she takes action, and so forth. But at the same time, there's kind of a question of what happened, what exactly happened there.
Yeah.
But it is a turning point for him as
Right.
he starts to slide into darkness, and next thing you know, Luke,
Yeah.
I am your father. That kind of
Yeah,
thing.
he's like at that all of a sudden he's like, "Oh no, I've now become this person." I
Yeah,
mean, I think
exactly.
the thing I really love about that though is that's so human because that is what happens in life, We all just make choices in a moment and we don't really think about necessarily like am I the good guy or am I the bad guy? You're just a person making a choice. So,
But
depending
it's a
on
very, yeah, go
where you
ahead.
come from, it's a slippery slope the
Well, I was going
people
to say,
run
yeah,
down.
but it's also a radioactive topic, because it's so easy for people to jump to conclusions and start, like,
Well,
start some sort of flame war,
and especially
particularly
with
people who, yeah,
comics, I feel
yeah,
like comics, because it's serial, I find this a lot when I talk to other fans of comics, is people will say, well, I read this one panel or I read this one issue or I heard someone said that this happens. And all
I
of a
heard
sudden,
someone say, yes,
I heard
yeah,
someone say
people are
this happens. And then
people are saying,
people are saying this thing and now because of that I'm going to make a blanket judgment on the entire run, when also what I like to say to people is like, well, let's just wait and see because this is a serial medium, so we only go
right,
issue by issue and there's a month in between
which is a
usually.
scary month. It'll be the scariest month of my career, I think.
I
You
mean,
know,
I hope it goes well though, because I do feel I'm my fingers are crossed for you because I do feel that it's an important story to talk about, and that sometimes the hardest things that are the most controversial are the most important things for us to
yeah,
discuss in
I agree.
comics.
I agree.
And the other thing is people just need to remember, wait till issue 3 and let's just see where it goes, guys. That's what I always say to people when Franklin lost his powers and Dan Slott did all that. I was like, well, just wait a minute, because like that's just right now, and like things will change. Like everything comes back around, everything serves a purpose, and people have stories in mind. We also have to remember that sometimes stories get cut short, and that's also going to change the flow. Like, what
Yeah.
else did you want to do with Sacred Six? Because I want to hear, like, what was that
Oh
like?
my God. Jesus.
Because I felt that's
Well,
when you said that, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Because I felt like the ending was a little bit abrupt. Like I was like, whoa, what happened?
yeah, it was abrupt. I had assumed that we were going to go at least like 25 issues, like we did
Oh
with
wow, that's so
Vampirella.
much more story.
So yeah, so obviously Draculina was impersonating Vampirella
Yeah,
as part of the team. Um, and there was gee, I'd have to really think about it, but obviously there was the premise of Sacred Six was that there is a vampire village in southern Georgia,
yes,
which is a safe haven for, I don't want to say good vampires, but they're vampires who don't prey on human beings.
yeah.
And Vampirella,
Ashthorn, right?
Ashthorn,
Yeah.
which becomes the capital of the earth in this story arc, by the way.
I
Uh,
can't wait to see that. That's gonna be crazy, man. That's gonna be
So,
crazy.
and then up the road, these evangelical Christians, they build this gleaming city. So Ashstone is kind of this torn down, run down, town, and up the road, literally up the road is this gleaming sort of city that's built around a Christian university.
Yeah,
And the Christians there are trying to wipe out the vampires. So there was this conflict, and then Lilith sends Victory to go work at the Christian school to be her spy there.
yeah.
So there was all kinds of stuff that we were planning to do, and unfortunately, I wasn't ready for that question, so I have to go back and look at my notes. Yeah,
No,
we had a
that's all
whole
right. That wasn't
oh
included. It just when you
oh
said it, I was like, I need to ask this follow up. Like,
But just to get back to what you were saying a minute ago
mhm.
about wait to see what the resolution is. You know, I was babysitting Justice League. I wasn't writing Justice League. Scott Snyder was supposed to write Justice League, but he got tied up with Metal. They needed someone to step in the interim, so
Mhm.
they said, you know, we're going to insult you by not offering you the book. We're going, you can write the book, but it's not really your book.
But you
So
can't have it. Yeah.
right. So in one issue in particular, the Justice League members of the Justice League like went undercover for some reason, and they went on this news broadcast. They went undercover as other people or whatever. And Wonder Woman was one of the people who went undercover. And I was writing this thing, and when she impersonates the female reporter, and then it occurred to me, well, why can't the female reporter be black?
Yeah.
So I had Wonder Woman like disguise herself as this black woman. She did, use some technology or whatever, and she disguised herself as this black
Yeah.
woman.
She's
And
from she's from Themyscira. She got all the tech.
what happens is the technology, whatever it is, it breaks. The Justice League gets scattered across the globe.
Right.
Uh, Wonder Woman ends up in Africa, but she's still a black woman.
Right.
So when we get to the next issue, she's like flying around in Africa, and she's got these beautiful braids and dread, and she's gorgeous as a black woman, and
Yeah.
she's flying around through the veldt there, being chased by little African children who are like singing and chasing her, and there's like butterflies and gazelles, and it's a beautiful like double page spread and stuff like that, and then DC pulled it back from the printer.
Because they
and
were
made
like,
us
that's too much. You
and
can't
made
be
us
making.
redraw her because they were because this whole issue of what was it, blackface or something had.
Yeah.
Remember that broke out? There was some actor or there was something going, some noise. I don't know what it was.
There's been
Had
a lot
nothing.
of noise surrounding that. Yeah, 100%.
And I went into Dan DiDio and I was like, look, I'm not mad about it, but I just don't know what the big deal is. I said, look, there's nobody buying this book who doesn't know I'm black. And
Yeah.
I know it's unfair, but women get a pass on female issues. Black people get a pass on black people issues. Jewish people get a pass on Jewish issues. Jewish people can tell Jewish jokes. I can tell black jokes.
Yeah.
And he said, no, that's not the issue. The issue is that, like, the cliffhanger is, we leave with a cliffhanger where Wonder Woman is black. So now we have 30 days where they have to wait for the next issue. And in those 30 days, we are going to get just slammed, and actually
Wow.
slammed by people who won't even have read the book. They'll just have heard about it,
Yeah.
that we race swapped Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So that was the reason why he pulled it back. It wasn't that it was a bad story or that DC was racist. It had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with how
People would take
stuff
it in
gets
in
out
that
of hand.
30 days. Like,
Right.
what'll
Right. So
happen?
maybe we should have put a trigger warning. She's not really black. She'll
Like,
be back.
she's
I don't know.
still white. She's
But
using technology.
it was so well done, and maybe one day they'll let me post the original art for that, because the artist did her
Like a
with great dignity
beautiful.
and grace, and it was
Yeah.
so Cyborg shows up to pick her up. They finally tracked because they got scattered across the world.
Yeah.
So Cyborg shows up, in some sort of vehicle to pick her up, and she goes, and he looks at her and he goes, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "Well, I was just playing with the kids." Blah blah. Blah. He goes, no, I mean,
Like, what's going on?
You can't run around being black. And Wonder Woman goes, "Why?" He goes, "Because." And Cyborg goes, because you can."
He's
You
like, I can't really think of a reason, but
you can't answer the
don't
question.
do
And
it.
she just smiles and kind of like, kind of pats him on the shoulder and goes, the things that you humans, not you humans, but the
But
things that you Americans tend
think
to
about.
get upset about. She just dismisses the whole thing as stupid.
Yeah.
Because black people are beautiful. Africans are beautiful. She was beautiful. It was a great moment that
Well, I mean, and
we
Wonder
couldn't
Woman
do because of the
is
silliness.
love
Yes,
personified, right? So it is this thing of like
exactly.
Wonder Woman she's not looking at people like, what's the
Right.
difference between, and like this person can't do this. She's like, all people are
Absolutely.
beautiful. And why don't we just celebrate that? Like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Why are we getting
Yeah.
worked up over something? I love her
But
response too, because it feels like it so is related.
she just
Like it kind of
dismisses
lines
it.
up with what you were dealing with at that time, hilariously, which
But
is that idea.
but that's the point that you were making, we were making a minute ago, is
Yeah.
that long 30 days
It's a
between issues
long
2
30
and 3.
days.
We're all crossing our fingers here because we're a bit nervous about it. But I think that Ergun, the artist, I think he pulled it off. I think it was very well done.
Yeah.
And I think that the audience will. And then of course Doc Chary, the psychiatrist,
Psychiatrist, yeah.
whom I really hope Samuel L. Jackson plays in the movie if we ever
Oh
make
my
a
gosh, I would
movie of this.
love that. I love Doc Chary. He is
Because
hilarious. He's a hoot, man.
Sam would know just what to do with that character.
Yeah.
So, he is listening to this story. Cicero is telling him this story of this encounter, this sexual encounter. And
Mhm.
Cicero's being very defensive about it. He goes, "Look, by the way, just for the record, it wasn't a rape," and Doc Chary is like, "I don't think your opinion matters here." And he's like, if any part of this story is true, I'm going to have to report it to the authorities. And he
Jeez.
goes, "Go right ahead. It'll happen in 47 years, maybe."
Maybe. Unless I
So
fix all
yeah,
this and then it won't happen at all, hopefully. That's what we're
there you
hoping.
go. But yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be a pretty controversial comic, and we're all like hoping that we won't lose our jobs.
Well, I hope you don't lose your job. And I also hope that it hits for people, because I think
Yeah,
it sounds like the approach that you have to it, there's nuance there, and it is hard with that stuff, because I feel like we do kind of live in a world right now sometimes where the nuance goes over people's heads a little bit, but
yeah,
I'm hoping that people actually just read it. And if I hear anything, I will encourage people, look, why don't you just pick up the issue and just read it first before
yeah,
you jump to the Twitter and jump to all these conclusions? Because that is the thing that happens all the time. I see it all the time with all kinds of comics, and I have to be like, it's a serial medium. Wait till the story's done, and then we'll judge it.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
But
So
yes.
fingers crossed.
So when it comes to Vampirella as well, is there anything that you want readers to take away from this series?
Her humanity,
Yeah,
her being which is ironic, her being an alien,
I
but
know.
she's
She's so
so
human.
human.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I wouldn't compare her to Wonder Woman, but she's not as cynical as Catwoman, and she's not quite as optimistic as Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
She is a person who lives in an apartment. She has a cat. She
I
would
feel like,
love to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. She'll take either one, you
yeah.
know. She does grocery shopping, Amanda. You
I
know,
know. I love that she's like, gotta go get my I love that when she goes grocery shopping too, and when she's just in her vampy outfit, and I'm like, I just love that Vampirella just chills in her vampy outfit. Like she's like, whatever, like I don't care.
well, she
She's
figures
so
the hang up is our hang up. You
it
know,
is. And
this hang up with the human body.
the thing that I love about too the way you approach her being a vampire from outer space is that she is a character, and that's what Draculon is also all about, right? It's all this idea when you go
Yeah.
there in Vampirella Year One. It's this idea of like what you guys have on Earth, all of this stuff about like it has to be this way, and why are people like this, and why is everyone different? Is like your thing. That is not
Yes.
that comes from inside you, and I love that Vampirella is just so free spirited. And that is something that has been with her since her origins. This idea of just being a person that just does her thing. And she doesn't really think too much about it. She just wants to exist and be loved like anyone.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like Western values versus Eastern values versus African values.
That's right. It's all different. It's all just where you're
Uh,
from.
and however, when she goes into if she knows she's going to go into battle, she's going to have a fight, I have her put on a different outfit, only because it's just illogical for me to just
That she'd wear that outfit.
I just well, not just wear the outfit, but again, with due respect to
Yeah.
other writers, they would send her into a life and death battle, and she would just have she would just grow claws magically, which they made that up. I don't
Yeah.
know where she got the growing claws magically, but basically she would just go in wearing this very skimpy outfit, which would obviously if you're in a tussle, that thing is going to get torn off you.
Oh
So
yeah.
number one. But it makes no sense if she knows she's going to go fight a brood of werewolves. She's going to bring a gun. Thank you. She's going to put some armor on, and because she's going to get ready for it. She's not stupid, you
Well,
know.
and you guys have referenced other looks that she's worn, which I love in the
Sure,
run. Like you call
yeah.
back to those other outfits, those other designs. And I love that it sticks with the classic, but it's like, look, Vampirella has a closet. She has more than one outfit. She wears different things. She likes her outfit, but she also likes to change it up. She's going to dress for the situation, which makes a lot of sense.
I think that some writers have and some TV executives have tried to change the outfit because they're afraid of
The
how revealing it is.
sexualization. Yeah.
And the point is, I see more revealing stuff on rap videos.
Yeah.
Girls in like skimpy bathing suits and so forth. It's no longer as shocking as it was.
Yeah.
But the fact is, what I told people when I first took the book over, because they're like, "Well, you're like this Christian guy. How can you write this half naked chick here?" And I go, well, look, if you change the outfit, she's not Vampirella anymore. The outfit is
Yes.
so iconic.
Thank
Wonder
you.
Woman's out. Wonder Woman has to wear the breastplate, the bodice thing, and Vampirella's got to wear the sling bikini. That's who she is. However, you're right. The woman has a closet, for crying out loud, and some of the outfits that other writers and artists have created for her, they still work, particularly the one that I just stuck with for the battle outfit.
Yeah.
That really does work. She
Yeah.
puts her hair up in a ponytail, and she's got this kind of bulletproof thing on.
And she
She's
looks
got a sidearm.
badass. She looks
She's ready
great.
to go.
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, but that's also so true. Like the outfit, like I was cosplaying as Vampirella at a Halloween party
Uh-oh.
last year, and someone came up to me and asked me. This always happens when I cosplay as Vampirella. Someone comes up to me and asks me about what do I think of the outfit and like how do I feel as a woman about what Vampirella wears and like don't I think it's
Oh my
sexist?
God, here we go.
I
How
know.
did you handle it?
I mean, I explained to them the history of the character, and I said, "Did you know that this outfit was actually designed by a feminist, like underground
Can
comic book
Robin.
artist?" Like the history.
However, men have been drawing it.
Oh yeah,
And
for years.
particularly the cut of the bikini briefs,
Oh,
they've been
smaller
drawing
and
it like
smaller. Yeah.
right. I don't think she would appreciate that, but yeah, I understand what
And I say,
um,
you have to think about the era of the time that Vampirella was born in, and it's really about a representation of, I mean, she is a vampire. She's a space
yeah,
vampire, but she's a vampire. Vampires, what do they kind of embody? Sexualization is a part of that, and how we like feel about our sexual identities. That's important to the
I was going
character.
to say sexuality, probably not sexualization so much as like embracing your sexuality and
That's right.
possessing your
And owning
sexuality.
your body. And I'm like, and so Vampirella, I think of the outfit as being kind of empowering because it's kind of just about like being in your body and loving your body. Vampy has
Right.
always kind of represented some of that. And I love that about her. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being proud of, how you look and how you feel in your body. That's awesome.
I
And
have frequently gone to conventions and run into Vampirellas there.
oh
And,
yeah.
at one convention, recently, I was signing something and someone starts talking to me and whatever like that. And I look up and it's Vampirella, and immediately you can see the word balloon over my head
Yeah.
where I'm going, that's a bodysuit, right? That's got to be a bodysuit. And I went, no, that's not a bodysuit. And I just, you know, you have to forgive me that I don't think I'm a prude, but I'm certainly old fashioned.
Right.
Where I just would kind of like, now where do I look? How are you? Nice to
Yeah,
thanks
like what do
for
I
stopping by.
do? Yeah.
But you know what? On YouTube, I've seen these videos of Zulu tribeswomen
Yeah.
doing these rituals, like when they these coming of age rituals, whatever. And you see like a bunch of like heavy set like African women, and they're topless and they're dancing, and there was a controversy where like I think Facebook or YouTube wanted to insist that they cover up,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're like, this is our heritage. This is who we are. We don't fetishize the female breast
Bodies.
way you guys do. And I guess if you're in Africa, if you're in the middle of nowhere, and these are not like primitive people. They have cell phones, but in that tradition, I guess you become desensitized to it. If you see boobies all day long, you kind of go, no big
Yeah,
deal.
exactly. Well, and I mean, that's the thing with Vampirella and a lot of characters is people will say like, "Oh, but isn't this, objectification, all that stuff?" And I'm like, "Well, it can be that, but it's also really in how you approach it, right? Like, you're the one that's looking at the costume, being like, wow, like, whoa, And I'm like, so that's kind of on you. The person that I talked to about it too, I will say that I
Yeah.
don't think they understood the depth. I don't think they understood the depth that they were about to get into talking to me as someone that literally talks about comics on the internet as my job. So they started talking to me, and then I kind of started talking about like the history of the character and all the things that I loved. And then they were like, okay. And they were like, but wasn't it something? And I was like, look, like I will just talk to you about Vampirella all day. So you don't know what you've started here. Like, because I love Vampy. So
But I
yeah.
hope that at least my approach, and I'm not trying to like put myself on any kind of pedestal because I'm trying to figure it out as I go along. But I hope that my approach is to engage the issue, you know. But I have no control over the covers. So the covers, they're beautiful covers. I'm not knocking the covers, but the covers are definitely objectification and
Well,
sensationalizing and so forth like
they're
that.
definitely trying to sell those covers. I
Well,
will
yeah,
say, like,
it,
I'm not,
exactly.
and I'm not going to lie. I may have also bought the one that's topless as well. I may have bought a lot of Vampirella
It was a nice
covers.
piece of art,
It's a
though.
beautiful
I'm
piece
not
of
knocking
art,
it. No, I'm not knocking any of it. But the point is, inside the book, I
It's a different
don't think
story.
I don't think I have anybody just kind of like ogling her.
No, no, you
I don't
don't.
think
You
that
don't.
happens. And I think the issue 2 or 3, whatever issue it was, we sent her speed dating, which was so much fun.
I loved the speed dating
We
issue.
had
It's
like
so funny.
like a 12 panel grid, and the script just said, look, uh, date number 3 has to be Benny the Witch because he's going to be a
A
regular
recurring
character.
character, yeah.
Okay, everybody else just make them up, and I will script it off of whatever you come back with. So Ergun just made those
Oh,
people up,
that is so fun.
and it's like they were all a bunch of weirdos. Like I hope these weren't his friends. I don't want to get him in
Like,
trouble.
where did these
I don't
people
know who
come
these
from?
people were. But it's just how hard it is to find someone. You
Yeah,
know.
it is.
And when you do find someone, they turn out to be a victory.
Yeah, they turn out to be a victory or they turn out to be Benny the Witch. Everyone has
Benny
their
the
thing, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. And I
Well,
mean,
Benny was kind of asexual. Benny, there's this great scene where like, Benny, it's in Vampirella's, tiny apartment, and they're all on the sofa bed, and it's like Vampirella's on one side, Benny's in the middle, and Victory's on the other side, and Vampirella's lying on her side. Her facial expression is like, Jesus Christ, won't you guys get a life?
Yeah.
Now Benny's just he is inverted, so his feet are up by her head,
Yeah.
and he's reading the newspaper. And it's just it kind of has that vibe of the TV show Friends, where
Yeah.
everybody just piles in the bed.
Yeah.
It's like I go over to my sister's house, and there's grandma, and there's Shirley, and there's the kids and the dog. The dog is in the bed. She has this huge bed, and then people come over and they go into the bedroom, and we're all congregating and Shirley's like, who invited all these people? But yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make, is that yes, in that particular scene, Victory sleeps in the nude. Vampirella is in her t-shirt and panties, but there's no objectification. There's no like
it's just people hanging out,
angle on body parts or whatever. And Benny
Yeah.
is completely indifferent to all of it, because I suspect he's asexual. I don't know what his sexual preference is, but
that makes sense based on how you wrote
hit
him.
on any of the girls. Yeah.
No, yeah.
They went on vacation together. Benny goes on vacation. That's how he died, by the way. He went on vacation with Vampirella, because Victory got herself arrested. Victory was supposed to go with Benny, but Victory got arrested. So Benny
she has to go to court. Yeah. And then Vampirella ends up going with him. And then on the way back, everything happens.
Right.
And I love his approach, actually, to like all of the sexy stuff, because he just seems curious. Like, he's just kind of like,
he's asking questions. Like, yeah. Can I kiss you?
Yeah.
He wants to kiss Victory to see if. By the way, that scene where he kisses Victory to see like what I've never kissed a lesbian before.
Yeah,
I wanted to know if like hair would grow on my. Okay, that's absolutely, positively, 100% true. I did that.
Oh my gosh!
To my niece's girlfriend. Yes. Well, no, that's no. We were waiting for pizza.
Yeah.
She was sitting in the car. I went over and said, would you mind if I kissed you? And she goes, why? And I go, I've never kissed a lesbian before. I want to, the line from the comic book is verbatim. So I kissed her. I gave her my Amanda, hand to God, I'm a great kisser. I laid it on this chick. I gave it to her, and then I stepped back and I go, anything? And she goes, nothing. So that scene is completely. There's a lot of priest in this book. There's a lot of it.
Amazing. Okay, so I have one more question for you, Priest.
Grant Morrison created Von Christ and I think a couple of others, but Von Christ in particular was this kooky, Morrison character that I love to death, and I just wanted to give him a shout out.
Yeah,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Such a fun, weird character. I agree.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, who is a character that you believe is extremely like underutilized or overlooked in comics, who you just love to see like get some more time in the spotlight?
Oh, that's a big question.
It's a big question.
Off the top of my head, I wouldn't mind getting my hands on the Ray again. It's a character that I created when I came to DC way back in the 90s. And he was supposed to be DC's Spider-Man. And he was very well received, but after I, left, or, after he left my hands, however it happened, they didn't seem to know what to do with him. But he had all of the Peter Parker beats. Young guy, his first apartment, he's out on his own. He's got, shitty jobs, girl troubles, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And he was immensely powerful and had this nutty father, and so forth. So there was a bunch to play with there. But beyond that, I'd have to really give it some thought, because it seems to me like every character from every company is like in overdrive,
a lot of people that haven't been seeing the spotlight for a while, a lot of people are getting like put in there, which I love to see.
They're doing like this absolute Martian Manhunter. I would have said Martian Manhunter, but he's got a series now.
He's just got the absolute coming in, I know, and it's so good. It's like, ooh, okay.
So I'm like, okay, so I'd have to go and think about that and come back.
I think those are still very good off the top of your head answers. Ray and even Martian Manhunter, who does have his absolute thing, but I mean, where is Martian Manhunter right now in main continuity? I don't know. Is he doing
I
anything?
used to love writing him in Justice League Task Force,
Hmm.
where he was like mentoring these young heroes, and he had this very dry sense of humor, and this kind of this really wit where he kind of verged on Mr. Spock, but Mr. Spock with a sense of humor.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I
Mr.
think I,
Spock,
I
if
think
he tried to make jokes.
I had him appear in Black Adam for like he did a cameo in Black Adam, where he was basically testing Black Adam,
Yeah.
and Black Adam kind of failed the character test, and Martian Manhunter recommended that they boot Black Adam out of the Justice League because he's just a ticking bomb.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Black Adam in the Justice League, all due respect to writers who make way more money than I do. I didn't think that was a great idea.
I mean, Black Adam, once again, villain.
Complete villain, and
Villain.
having
Villain.
lots of trouble over there too because I got him involved in Black Adam. This was a series where routinely
Yeah.
my editor had to go to his boss and his boss had to go to to get things approved because we would you have to nowadays everything has to go through standards and practices.
Yeah.
So even if editorial approves the comic book, it goes to the lawyers, it goes to the evil henchmen at Warner Discovery, or at that time it might have been AT&T, whoever owned us at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
And they would come back with all this stupid notes, and to DC's credit, I would, we actually had to get like Marie Javins to go and fight for us, and on one occasion had to go all the way to Jim Lee's desk to get Jim Lee to make the call,
Whoa.
because they were demanding.
All these
I don't know. It was
crazy
something
things.
stupid like this was something stupid like we had this sidekick, this character named Bolt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so his he was a medical intern, and there's this when in his first appearance, he's Black Adam is insisting on seeing him, and he's like I am I am Adam Lord of of Kahndaq,
Yeah.
and he goes, I'm Michael Jackson, King of Pop. You have to wait outside, and just mentioning Michael Jackson got the red line,
No
where
way.
they were taking it to and then at some point Malik, that's Bolt. Malik is in his in his powered down identity is this kid named is Malik. So he's been arrested. He's being interrogated by these detectives. And they go, "Well, you're an intern at this hospital. Where do they call you there? They call you doctor?" And he goes, "They call me Mr. Tibbs." And they redlined that.
Wow.
Now
Yeah.
they redlined that, and I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. Warner Brothers released that movie.
Yeah,
What's
you're
the
like,
objection now?"
what are you like now? What's happening? Like,
So we had to misspell Tibbs to get
right.
that in there.
Wow.
Like we're morons. Like we don't know how to spell the name. These are the kind of things where they're just super sensitive. Everybody's suing everybody.
Yeah.
Just like with the Twitters, everybody's like on edge these days. So, I understand. But to DC's credit, Marie stood up for us. Jim Lee stood up for us. And got it through it. And that was a book that really got harmed because there became this wave of anti-Black Adam sentiment because people were just lying in wait for it's the fun game now to wait for superhero films to fail.
Yeah.
And I don't think if in retrospect, now that we have some perspective on it, you go back and you look at the numbers for Black Adam and you realize given the givens, given the pandemic and given the givens,
Yeah.
it really didn't fail. It made like $300-400 million. It made a respectable amount. Now did it make a profit? Okay, Black Panther the box office $1.5 billion, and they're still claiming that it lost money.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of shenanigans that they play out there. But to be fair to The Rock, who just thank God for him, where he just went everywhere there was a camera. He stood in front of that camera and promoted that movie. And
He
every
was
time he
so
promoted that
excited
movie,
about that movie. I
and,
will say, Rock like really brought the
right,
hype for the movie.
yeah, and every
Mhm.
time he promoted that movie, he promoted my comic book. So I'm very grateful for Mr. Johnson for all of the stuff that he did,
Yeah.
But there was this sort of like, "Err, Black Adam, and so they kind of took it out on our series, which was not connected to the movie. The reason we weren't connected to the movie is that they wouldn't show me the script.
Yeah.
I asked for it, they wouldn't show me the script. Ooh, security,
Security.
you
And you're
know.
like, but I could use it. We could do something. We could
Well,
incorporate
duh.
things. Yeah.
And hello, I'm Mr. Black Panther. You mean Marvel films trust me more than DC films trust
I
me?
know. That's
Whoa,
crazy. I
that's really crazy.
feel like that is the sentiment these days, and it is sad to see. I mean, I just filmed before this. I just filmed a reaction to Fantastic Four First Steps, and I'm so hyped for it. And I get so
Oh, I
excited.
think that's going to be fun.
I think it's gonna be
Come
really
on,
fun.
everybody needs to get a life. That looks like, you know what? I am so hyped to see that.
Me
If
too.
for nothing else, that they got the thing right. I was like, look at that. It's the thing.
The
Look
thing
at
looks
that. Look at
great.
it's Herbie. Look at that.
The fact
You
that they have
know,
Herbie in the Fantastic car, I was like, "Are you serious?" The
get a
fact that
life.
we're doing Fantastic Four and making it like 60s and making it classic, like I was like,
I think that's
honestly,
a brilliant way to go.
brilliant.
Yes.
That is Fantastic
Instead
Four.
of trying to make it, dark and serious and this other stuff
Yeah,
and
we'd
compete
already tried
with
that
the
and it didn't work out too well, I will
you
say.
know and I'm
Yeah,
very hopeful for James Gunn's Superman.
me
I think
too.
it's probably going to be lighter and more playful than I would do it.
Mhm.
But it just looks great.
Yeah,
It just looks like it's going to be a blast.
it gives me
So fingers
hope,
crossed for
and I'm
James
like,
Gunn.
"Isn't
Yes.
that what we want for Superman?" That's what Superman is. He is hope. So,
But this is what we want for superhero movies, because if they keep flopping, Amanda, they'll
yeah,
stop making them.
I
I
know.
want them to keep. I enjoy this stuff,
Me
and
too.
let's keep our business going, because this
It
is how we
feeds
make a
into the
living.
comics. It gets people reading books. And my favorite thing about superhero content is the more we get TV shows and movies, the more people that I talk to that say to me, like, what should I read? Like, I saw this thing. I saw, X-Men 97, and now I want to read X-Men. And I'm like, this is amazing. This makes me so happy because I
Yeah,
just want people to read more. If we don't
yeah,
read more, our brains will rot away. I'm a firm believer of this. Like, I don't care what you
yeah.
read, but just read something, please. So
I'm
yeah.
a big fan of Brian K. Vaughan. I'm big a fan of Saga and
Yeah,
Paper
I love
Girls,
Saga. It's so good.
and and I just went, wow. It's like he doesn't. How can I explain this without being gross? It's like, it's I don't know him. I've never met Brian K. Vaughan, but it just
Mhm.
seems like his butt is not as clenched as ours is. Because
He's
my butt,
he's
every time I
relaxed.
sit down to write a superhero, I'm like,
Like,
my butt is super clenched, because I'm like trying to get it, and
get it
he
right.
just seems to be like, you know what, we're going at this pace. We're going to invest in character first and
Mhm.
build out the world out of the
Of the
character.
characters. Yep.
Had wonderful art on both projects and
Yes.
on the other things, and I go, and it
Fiona
breathes,
Staples, I
Amanda,
think,
and
is Saga.
it's so easy to read.
It's
It's just
so
wonderful.
it's just a
Yeah,
delight, and it just transports you to a different place, but still makes you
yeah,
think about everything that's happening around you at the same time. Like, you read these characters and you go like, "Wait a minute. What I just learned something about myself," like reading,
right,
and
right.
that's what we want, right? It's just
Because we
it's
were all kids at one point. We were
yes.
all, you know. Now let me ask
Exactly.
you something. Have you seen the Paper Girls TV show? Does it do justice to the comic
I
book?
haven't seen the Paper Girls TV show, and I'm gonna admit, please don't hate me, but I haven't read Paper Girls, but it's on my list because everyone that I meet is like, "You have to read Paper Girls." I think I
I
own
had
it,
a
but I haven't read it yet.
I was in a comic book store with a friend of mine,
Yeah.
and he pulled it off the shelf, and he wouldn't let me leave without buying this thing. And I was like, Jesus, come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
And then I took it home and I started reading it, and it started to change my approach to narrative. Where I went, you know what, I need to unclench,
Yeah, okay,
and
well, I need to add it to
a
the top
lot
of
of
my
what you
pile
see.
then.
A lot of what you see in Vampirella is me unclenching and trying,
To
and
relax.
probably failing, trying to kind of get into that Brian K. Vaughan
Vibe.
groove. And I'll add to the fact that I've been heavily lobbying Dynamite to issue a variant collections to reissue some of the collections with variant covers that feature Aragon's art on the cover.
Mm.
Because I think that the crowd that likes the alternative stuff, the crowd that likes the manga stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the crowd that likes the European stuff,
Mm.
they will love Aragon's work. I think they will pick us up. I think they'll give us a shot. But the fact is, as long as we have these sort of painted sort of cheesecake covers on it, they don't know that that's in there.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get people past the cover so you can actually see what we're doing.
Well, to
in the book.
that note, I'll also say down below in the comments on this video, the pinned comment, and in my video description, Priest has actually provided me with a really awesome little preview, which we can also kind of throw up here to show people some of what's there. But if you guys want to read what's actually inside, I love that you have that. And I love that it's just a beautiful little teaser of kind of what this book is about. So if you guys want to check it out for free, just to kind of get a sense of if it's for you, I would highly recommend checking it out, because there is so much to love about Vampirella on the inside of the book, outside of the covers, even though, of course we all want to collect covers.
There's a lot to love about the covers too, but I'm just saying that the audience for Saga or Paper Girls or some of the manga titles, that audience
see something in this 100%
is not, but that audience is not going to get past the covers, because the covers suggest a different genre that they may not be all that interested in. But when you realize that our book really isn't about people having sex with skulls and drinking blood, that our book is funny and it's poignant and it's heartbreaking in some, and then it's hysterically funny.
It is super funny, and it's it is super sci-fi, like you said. Like if you like sci-fi, you will like this book for sure.
So hopefully we'll get. I would love them to reissue year one and to issue the upcoming volume, which would be our 666 story, the Groundhog's Day story with the three of them in the bed, because it keeps coming back to the three of them in the bed.
Yeah,
I want the three of them in the bed on the cover.
Put that on the cover. That would be great.
And get that on a shelf or get that in the catalog.
Yeah.
And the people who gravitate toward European art, independent art, that kind of thing, let them just showcase this guy and his wonderful color work and his great sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I would love to just push that a little bit harder.
I hope that happens for you, especially year one. If you guys have a chance to check out year one, I really, really recommend it. It's a great read.
You'll love the cow scene.
You're going to love that cow scene, let me tell you. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Priest. And I hope everybody checks it out. Let me know what you're thinking of Vampirella down in the comments. And is there anything you want to add before you go? Is there anything you want to plug other than Vampirella, or any other links I should include for you?
I don't know if I should talk about it, but apparently I'm writing Red Sonja. I don't know when it's coming out, but it's a completely new take on Red Sonja that you will love or completely hate. So it's just, you know what? Good luck.
All right. Well,
so look out for that.
I am excited for that, because I also love Red Sonja. So I will be keeping an eye out for your Red Sonja, and maybe y'all should.
And feel free to hate me, because I'm telling you, I know it sounds like a lot of hype when people go, it's Red Sonja as you've never seen her before. But Amanda,
you really mean that.
This is Red Sonja as you.
All right. Well, we'll see how it goes. So be prepared to love or hate it. I guess we'll see.
There you go.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I'll see you next time. And until then, stay nerdy.